Hey everyone, this is Ben from Floodgate Games, and I am very excited to unbox today the MPC, the master production copy of Hedge Mage. And I haven't even looked at it. As you can see, the box is sealed, and we're going to look at it for the first time together. All right, let's take all this bubble wrap off carefully. This one's been a long time coming. We've been working on it for several years. I think we signed this game in 2022, and it's finally here. Look at that. So shiny. Nice spot UV on the logo. This one's designed by Connor Wake, and the art is by Josh Nelson. Little catalog, got more games. Check out our other games. Rulebook, square, like everything else in the game. Put a nice linen texture on that so it feels good in your hands. A little overview of how to play. Setup. That setup's for 2 players, but it's pretty much the same thing for 3 and 4, just a couple more player boards. How to build your hedge maze. How to run someone else's maze. Steal their gnomes. Gotta wake the gnomes up. Get little prizes for scoring those gnomes. How spring shrooms work. Some FAQ on movement. You can do all sorts of shenanigans. How scoring works. And all the great people it took to make this game happen. Alright, we've got the double layer player boards. Each of these comes in their own player colors. We've got the gray one, the blue one, etc. Gold one, and the pink one. All right, these are the single layer player boards. That'll come in the retail edition. Nothing on the backs. Garden board. This is where it all happens. Same on both sides. The randomized setup comes from which of the gnome ceremony cards you're using. So 4 of these, 1 for each player. Look at that beauty of an insert. All the mages over here on the side. Punch boards fit right in. You will punch them out, won't store them like this. But they do need to be safe when we're transporting. And then all the tokens, let's take a look at all of it. So 3mm punch board, thicker than usual, because we wanted a little more height to the hedges. The player colors are each on the sigils that are on the hedges here. So basically one of these sets goes to a player, and that becomes their set of hedges. Cute little critters on each of the tiles. Look at that. Score track, we had to make it a little maze. It's not too hard. And then the back side, this is where you'll put your gnome ceremonies that are out for the game. So you won't need scoring during the game. You can keep those central, and then it just looks nice. Kickstarter backers, people with the deluxe edition, you get the Blizzard Wizard expansion. It comes in the box. So we'll set that aside for the moment. We'll take a look at that later. Let's keep going. We'll take a look at these minis. They turned out so nice. We decided not to go with the ink wash. They just looked dirty. It was no good. So each player has the same mold, but you'll have one of each of the characters so you can distinguish between them. So they have different characters and a different tab on top here, just for reference. Did I move the round one? Did I move the square one? Heriberto Valle, the sculptor on these, knocked it out super fast. It was super tricky trying to get this to work right with the width of the gnome tokens, making sure they fit when they're laying flat and they don't fall over without it being too deep or looking awkward. I'll show how those fit in here in a minute. Deluxe edition wooden tokens. These look great. Spring shrooms, tunnel tokens. Let's take them out. They feel nice. Look at that. Score markers, spring shrooms let you bounce onto a hedge. The tunnels, of course, where you start. And I haven't seen these yet. This is my first time too. Your movement potion tokens. We were going to call these garden glide tokens, but just seemed like not the right choice. Those look so good. Next for tokens, the gnomes, the stars of the show. Pumpkin, mushroom, and flower gnomes. Nice thick tokens here. We'll show how those fit nicely into the mages. They hold them upright if they're awake, and all 3 of the shapes, they hold them lying down if they're still asleep. You can obviously have them face down if you want to. They're cute cheeks. We decided to start doing paper banding, just so there's a touch less single-use plastic in the game. We've been doing that for a little while. These are the gnome ceremony cards. They determine where one of your tunnels starts, and then, in this case, the pumpkin gnomes, how you're going to wake them up. So garden, Gordian, and any of the 4 squares in a corner, squashed within one space of both mages, pumpkin next to another pumpkin gnome. Shroom mates for the mushrooms on the same hedge tiles, another gnome. Sporcerers held by a mage while your other mage holds another mushroom gnome. So both of your mages holding a mushroom gnome. Wakes both of them up. More elevate. That's the art from the side of the box too. On a sigil, pretty straightforward. The flower gnomes, they don't determine anything about where the tunnels are placed. In the same row as one mage and column as your other mage, so that's a hard one. Planter enchanter here in the same row or column as a tunnel. And finally, rows and columns in the same row or column as another flower gnome. And we set the garden boards up so none of those alignment ones are ever true to begin with. So every one of the spaces where a gnome could start is in its own row and its own column. And they're obviously not next to each other either. But it's up to you to protect them. All right, we've got the hedge cards. So with these, you take out 2 at the beginning of the game, you shuffle them up, and one of these will be revealed. That's the hedge piece that everybody places on that round. And the favorite gnome cards. Everybody gets one of these. They keep it secret till the end of the game. And you're rewarded for protecting those gnomes, keeping those in your garden. There's one for each type, but there's 2 copies of each, so you can't quite figure out what it is that other people might be going for until you look at how they're playing. All right, let's clear this out of the way. Take a look at the Blizzard Wizard expansion. All right, the Blizzard Wizard expansion also comes in the box for the deluxe edition. This is all the cool stuff that we built or designed during development that we didn't want to clog up the main game with, but it was just too cool not to include it. So this expansion is designed by Charlie McCarron. Same artist here, Josh Nelson. Star of the show for the expansion, of course, the icy gnomes. Acrylic gnomes. They're frozen in this ice. Oh, it turned out so good. A little bit of a protective film on there. You can take that off safely because there's no printing on either side. Rulebook here, short and sweet. There's a few different modules. Got the ice gnomes, and skis are another reward that you'll get and give to put those on your one of your mages or the other mage after awakening and saving all of your ice gnomes here. This is a little roof board that goes on top of your scoring track too, so you'll keep those lined up with everything else. Just line it up. Looks like a nice little snowy roof on top of your sweet gnome board. For the winter events module, we'll use the deck of cards, which are over here. Well, before we move on to that, here's the ceremony for waking up those ice gnomes when they're next to another mage. So they got to be warmed up by your other mage. And then they have special rules for how they move. They basically slide until they bump into something else, and they ignore spring shrooms. So no bouncing for them. But each movement point slides them all around, so they're a neat little slidey puzzle. All right, back to the winter events module. These are the winter events cards. Everybody will place a snow fort piece. They get to pick which one. Get to build a gnome. We haven't looked at those yet. It's a special kind of gnome that covers an empty space. And gnome ball toss, where you can have one of your mages toss a gnome, and you can toss them over a hedge. And slapshot slide. It makes a gnome have its movement work just like the ice gnomes. Here are those snow fort tokens and the skis. That'll go underneath your mage. You just carry it along with as they're moving. The skis let them move with that same sliding motion, just like the icy gnomes. Have that illustration in there. Mage skis. I'm sorry, we did change it. They can move up to 2 spaces in one direction. So not quite the same. In final scoring, obviously the icy gnomes score like the other ones. When you're playing with the winter events module, you flip an event every time you flip one of the hedge pieces and see what happens. Snows, the other gnome piece that are in the game. Little snow versions of each of the gnomes here. They score at the end. Similarly, you stack them up on your roof board there. And then they'll score at the end based on just collecting them. Same as other gnomes, but you get to pick which one goes in. And the snow forts are super fun. Same thickness as the hedges too, so everything lines up nicely. That is the Blizzard Wizard expansion. And of course, that's for Hedge Mage. We were very excited to get this to your table. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.